Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode. To be human is divinity. In the subtitle, I have written resolutions to humanity's karma. What can be said is that life can be seen from primarily three angles: the past, the present, and the future. The past for the human being, the far past, the beginning, is unknown. The future, to a certain capacity, based on how the present moves, becomes known, but the future is also unknown. And what this means is that the present is what is known, and it is where the resolution, any sort of resolution on the movement of life, can arise. So technically we are sandwiched between an unknown origin and an unknown ending, an unknown beginning and an unknown ending. Now, in the present, we find not only the expression of the human being, but the reception of the human being. Now, check this out. Right now, in this moment, in this present moment of being, this moment I'm existing in, when I think about the past, it exists to me as memory. When I think about the future, it exists to me as imagination. You see, so imagination and memory, this is hilarious, but imagination is as if like memories before they have become memories. So that's the cool thing, that our relationship with our past is our memory, and our relationship with the future is imagination. And these are imagery that to the present don't exist, or exist as an echo. It's like the residue, like our memories. I mean, I don't know other people's memory, but in my personal life, like my memory, it's I scroll through events, and some moments, some memories, they have an emotional significance. Some moments, I mean, honestly, emotionally, I think we all remember way more instantaneously than just through the picture. But sometimes it's like some moments, based on if you were the mover in that moment or not, the memory is there. I don't know how to say it. today I was thinking that I have looked into mysticism, into metaphysics, philosophy, and the unknown for some time. In regards to, should man have a non-dualistic approach? Should man have a transcendental approach? Should man become incredibly multidimensional? And I realized something. That all our attempts at knowledge are with the consideration that nature is wrong. Because if it was right, there is no need. You see, it's as if somebody who knows doesn't need to go search and know. But somebody who doesn't know forever is searching. You know, they don't even know what they're searching for sometimes. They ask the person, what are you seeking? And the person's like, truth. And they ask the person, how long have you been seeking it? The person's like, it's been some years now. And the person's like, you've been searching for some years for a truth that doesn't have to do with an object. Like, it's mind-boggling. This realm is really has to do with the shortcut is sincerity. The shortcut to living in this world. Because without sincerity, one can live in lies to self. That means this may be a strange thing, but a person can lie to others, but people can lie to themselves. When I was young, I had lied to myself in the sense that I had accepted a version of me that was never me. And you always pay the consequences whenever you're not abiding by your nature. You know, I thought about how many ways the attention moves and what percentage of human beings right now are humanized and dehumanized. What I mean by dehumanized is that the attention doesn't need to just be human. Humanized means it is only human. And I feel this is something we can't ignore. It doesn't matter what the atheist says, it doesn't matter what the theist says. The future generations walks past the errors of long ago. I would say a dehumanized state of thought means you're still existing as a human being, but you don't see yourself as a human being. If you don't see yourself as a human being, then it's very complex to be human. And the karmic energy, like the karmic turbulence is there. This may be a strange thing that ancient mysticism was saying, yo, we ain't human, this is all a dream, wake up, you know? But in modern times, I'm starting to feel that that was an overreaction to nature. I feel that to be human is divinity. It's the most divine thing you can do. And it's a round circle. I have a feeling, in my experience it was like this, but I have a feeling for others it's going to be close, where the person's going to first seek the beyond. The beyond always gets people. Whether it's a door they want to see behind, whether it's a button they want to press, whether it's you know, the forbidden. Anytime you say something's forbidden, everybody wants to find everybody wants to see it, you know. I've come to this conclusion that the greatest spirituality is to be human after realizing there is no human. That means it's a responsibility of a multidimensional being to be human. Let me see how I can explain this. I gotta give 3 examples, I feel. 3 examples of different ways human beings have lived. Okay, let's say a humanized human being. What's an example of this? Okay, a humanized human being is a human being that knows nothing else. You ask them, what are you? It's like, I'm a human, bro. You know, it's like, where are you? I'm in humanity, bro. You know, what's your knowledge? It's human knowledge, bro. So it's as if there's nothing more than the human. That's the humanized individual, let's say. Then we say there is the dehumanized non-individual. I say non-individual because it's not necessarily collective. That means a person can be space. You know, this may be a foreign concept to our modern time, but you know, space can even have rights in the future. Anyways, and so a humanized person, per typical average person, a dehumanized person would be a person who has lived in, let's say, a common system, has been like everybody, but then their own humanity and the humanity of the realm, either whichever got to the person first. Some people, they realize the nature of this universal sector through others. Some people learn it through themselves. It's easier for them that way. So the example of the dehumanized human being would be the human being that feels being human is wrong or is limited. And to surpass that humanhood, that means you got to be something else. So you can say the slightest lack of contentment with being just a natural human being, it dehumanizes you. You can say violence dehumanizes you. Even love that a person doesn't deserve also can dehumanize them, right? And the idea is to be a human being is piloting through various elevations of states of mind. But now it can also be, I mean, this is where it gets really complex, because on one manner I'm talking about the potential of the human being, on another manner it's actual human being, right? That means we can have two people and one person is an individual to themselves and the other is a collective. This is really like the aim of the religious experience, where people are like, oh my God, it's all God. Oh my God. So what I mean by that is that it's like at some point the separation between the individual and the cosmic activity has to be drawn. You know, it's not like only nations that have borders. The human identity has borders. I would say metaphysics or traditional mysticism was focused on dehumanization. You know what it is? It's like we branded being human as bad or as ignorance. So it was easier to just see that we weren't human. You know, to be a mind, or let me say it this way. We're not just a human, we're a human being. And based on how we're being, so I could say this dehumanized and humanized kind of idea, it would be pretty much the humanized is first there's the human design, then there is being. In the dehumanized version, something is being, then the human is there. So the human can dissolve. The idea of the human can dissolve. That means, anyways, what I'm saying is it's too easy to not be human. So because it's too easy, it feels not the right thing. And let me tell you why. There is nothing wrong with what we are, to be honest. Because its nature doesn't have time to itself. Like a man has time in the universe, we fathom the idea of time. But the whole universal activity, if it was intelligent, it wouldn't have time. You know? So when it comes to being anything, right, it is a timeless state. There literally can't exist time when you're being. Time exists as a reference where from one point something that was kept still changed and we're like, oh my God, the world went forward. And so what I'm saying, people might not, I don't know, maybe the poetry, my tone in verse is maybe distracting people from this idea, but the New Age community, which is a sort of archaic revival through celestial archetypes, archaic revival of ancient wisdom. I don't know how to say it. It's just there's this feeling that we're all being here as some sort of energy, and the human is what we see. So I can say that even if a person wants to really go the dehumanized route, there's no purpose, there's no reason. This is like another thing they would say, those people back in the day who were interested in working interdimensionally. Sometimes they would get caught in interdimensional work where on the other side, the motive, the intention, the mind that the, let's say, interdimensionalist was working with, that mind had an eternal identity to itself, but the person's body is temporary. So it was the case that the person got, for example, overworked, right? Because the energy that they were working with was eternal, but their biological body was temporary, right? So in a temporary space, they were trying to be an eternal energy, and the challenges of that is that it can be burdensome to the body. Just like carrying a weight that's too heavy, right? If you carry it properly and get it to the final destination, good for you. It's like you achieved a lot. But if it's too heavy and you carry it and it slows you down from the overall progress, then it's different. You see, it's very hard. It's very hard to. It's like we're at a phase right now in the human species when it comes to linguistic simulation. When we talk about the mystical, the unknown, or dimensions beyond the sensory, right now people are in a consumerist market space. You know, that means they want to get what makes them feel better, but only to themselves. If people were consumers and they were conscious consumers, right now it's unconscious consumerism. In the era of conscious consumerism, first of all, not only the marketing would become conscious, the marketers were just smart enough and they're like, yo, we can totally sell stuff through better imagery, you know, through the imagery of a peaceful world. We have to reclaim humanity from dehumanized states of mind. And what that really means is that some ideological systems don't need you to be human, but some ideological systems should require you to be human, right? When it comes to the idea of hate and the idea of love, now we don't know, right? I mean, in the ancient times they acknowledged it, but we don't, right? In these modern times, we don't know if there's other beings. We know there's an unobservable universe, you know, at least in scientific circles, we consider there's an unseen part of the room, right? But we don't know what kind of beings are in the unobservable universe. In the observable universe, we're like Fermi's paradox, where are the aliens? We're the only ones here, you know? In the observable universe, we found brains, but in the unobservable universe, what there could be way beyond than what we're being. So, ancient mysticism, renounce your desire of being human. Mod neo-mysticism, Mr. Within would say, be human, with the ability to pilot in dehumanized states. That means sleep is a non-human state. In deep sleep, nobody's human, even though you exist in your bed as a human being. But you don't have the conscious experience of being human. There's literally no experience. In the dream state, you can't even say you are a human mind, but you're not human. In the dream state, the person has abilities that they don't have in normal life. Like not all the time, but like for example, in one dream, I'm a person who has, believe it or not, sport asthma. You know, it's like somehow it only happens when the person runs like 30 minutes, you know, straight. But how would I say? Like 30 minutes. And say you are a human mind, but you're not human. In the dream state, the person has abilities that they don't have in normal life. Like not all the time, but like for example, in one dream. Sometimes in altered states of mind, a person can move in ways they can't in the outer realms. Right now, I could visualize every object in front of me hovering in the air. But it doesn't mean the object hovers in the air. So in the dream state, in a certain dream state, I experience running really quickly. Running faster than I could possibly in real life. And so I can say that is a dehumanized state because I was not limited by human ability. There wasn't a priority to be human. You see, this is the unique thing about life. I feel that because our eyes are first person, we can't fear ourselves. You know, I always wondered, why is the theme of sacrifice shown itself? Now, aside from the Aztecs and the Mayans and the like next level freaky stuff they would do, you know, but there was this thing where it's as if because we don't see ourselves, we are literally designed to see the other first. Unless there's a mirror in front of us, our eyes are like see the world first, you know what I mean? Because our eyes could have been totally behind our head where we could have always seen our body. So it is clear that what is in front of the eyes is really what to serve. And only in the conscious waking state we are humanized. That means at least let us in the conscious waking state be human. Neither in the deep sleep we're human, neither in the dream state we're human. And even you can say a person moving, like let's say somebody doing parkour, that's a dehumanized state too. You see, the idea of human is something that the attention has to like a painting it has drawn care for. we find ourselves as either an object inside a subject or a subject inside an object. If we find ourselves as a subject in the object, where this is where most human beings are, free will, this is where free will comes in. The purpose of life would be for the mind to instruct the body. That means the mind, it's as if what's the purpose of identity? What is the purpose of being a self? To move the body of the self. So if it's the mind, it has to do with free will. If the mind is inside the body, that means the body is the only thing that exists. And the mind is a strange hallucination. It's a strange mirage in an atomic desert. excuse me. Really, we're human beings. We have a spectrum of time sandwiched between the unknown past and the unknown future. If the subject is here first before objects, a sort of state where there's a potential for subjects to be, regardless of what happens to the object, that means if the subject is the bigger onion layer and the object is the smaller onion layer, this means free will and attention is superior to matter. That means it's as if matter, we are treating it as reality, but what is experiencing matter is itself, let us say, a bigger reality. What can happen to the human idea is that it gets defined by its environment. So if in the future the environment is technological, the human would want to integrate with the technology. The moment it integrates, it has a reason to become it. It can avoid technology in its environment, going to go back to nature. It would miss out hugely on psychological development and just culture. I mean, imagine we all lived in the forest. It's like, what would there be to talk about aside from nature? Like, we would eventually get bored. Our minds wouldn't expand as quick. Through meditation, a way where we change from the human being is a personality in the space-time continuum. In mysticism, the being becomes a presence beyond space and time. So it's like, in one manner, mysticism is reverse engineering back to the non-linguistic source of the human being. The idea of human is a term in language. We may get dehumanized in many pathways, whether technological, whether natural, whether behavioral. It's as if that's the thing about language. It's there to change anything that touches it. We can even say chemical alteration of the psychology is a dehumanized state. Because the human being is a definition. Like, I'll read it for you. Let's see what the dictionary considers to be a human being. So, who knew a human being is a noun? Any individual of the genus Homo, especially a member of the species Homo sapiens. A person specially as distinguished from other animals or as representing the human species. See, as representing the human species. What that means is the definition of human is the human. It's something that, because we're being, the only way to define it is either use its reverse, distinguished from other animals, or as representing the human species. It's as if we ask the dictionary what's a human being, and the dictionary is telling us it's it's either not this or it's just this. You see? I feel a person can look at any ideological system, look at its outcome, and wonder if the outcome is what a human being deserves. Violence is not human, for example. It's animal. It's animal, but on a psychological level. I mean, we're animals too, but I'm saying on a psychological level. If you don't behave human, then we cannot be human. Imagine schools. I just thought of this. Imagine the educational system in every, I don't know. There was a course. There was a class in every grade where it was called. Let's say there was a class called Human Being Studies. You know, and literally the teacher would come and teach people how to be a human being. Okay, now imagine in the first class of that, the teacher has said something, yeah, be decent, you know, don't, for example, the teacher comes and says, you know, the reason we're human beings is because we don't behave like animals, and because we don't behave like animals, if you behave violently, what's the point of your evolution? Now imagine in that class, a student says, sir, you're teaching us how to be human beings, but how come on television there's shows that completely show like the dismissal of the human being through violence, you know? And then the professor would be like, kids, I don't know how to tell this to you, But the world is a lie.
Sometimes the best thing I can do is just surrender it.
What I'm trying to say is that in the inner realms, observable noumenon is unconditional. In the outer realms, observable phenomenon is conditional. And to be human is to function in a conditional state. That means you gotta like agree to certain things to be human. The first thing that species has to gather, and globally human beings all over the planet need to just join into groups and be like, hey guys, we're human beings right now on the planet, what do we deserve? And the response shouldn't be rebellion, you know? Rebellion is done. Outer realm rebellion is complete. Now it's the age of minds. We have passed living as bodies. I'm telling you. It's not something the species needs to fear. It's just the next phase. And it's a strange phase of human evolution. Where beyond being an object, beyond being a subject, through collective movement, collective identity is born. You see, our species doesn't have efficient victories on its belt. You know, history has been written by people crueler than those who they defeated. You see? And it's so phenomenal to me. The insect kingdom knows how to exist collectively. The human kingdom, oh my God, so much war and ignorance. The bees know if a beehive is attacked, instantly the bees protected. They know how to build the beehive, and they don't have PhDs. And we human beings feel we don't know how to build an advanced civilization. We are designed to build an advanced civilization. We are designed to build that beehive in the sky, you know, to the archaic revival of the castle in the sky. Out of all the legends I've ever heard in this lifetime, I will say the castle in the sky is the most incredible. There's a quote in Zen. What does a monk do before enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water. What does a monk do after enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water. What is a human being that, let's say, a dual-based human being that becomes non-duality? You know, it's as if it's like it's a round circle again. I don't know how much to emphasize this. And there's great joy and karmic victory in being human. You know, I noticed this in myself. You see, when a person does something from a completely dehumanized, selfless state, let's say like you see, for example, the saints or, you know, the non-dual wisdom and view, it becomes something where that result is so different than the person actually being like a foolish human being, you know? And I shouldn't say foolish, but it should be like, this is what I've learned, that everything I have wanted to update in my life, the potential for it was already there somehow, which makes me feel as if I've known the event. And we haven't explored the full dimensions of being human, by the way. So what is dehumanized being? What does a humanized being do? Chop wood, carry water. What does a dehumanized being do? Chop wood, carry water. And chopping wood and carry water is a human act. So we gotta, maintain our human dress wear in our inner realms as a viewer, as an unknown viewer. You see, I feel the whole thing, even the tension centering around the ego. It's as if it's like an engineer woke up with a wrench in their hand. And they had never noticed the wrench isn't their hand. And they had felt their whole life they're just designed to only move a wrench. Move the wrench and fix the engine, right? But then the person realizes the wrench is not a part of their hand, right? And they may realize that and be like, I hate this, I hate the ego, how it didn't let me see my clarity earlier on in life. So the person may want to throw the wrench in the other side of the room. And if the person even does that, then eventually when they realize either path you go, the work requires to be done. That's just the maturity of attention in the realm. Can it accept the world and go live it and then experience the pure karma of the novel life? Or I don't know, language is our owner. What are options do we have? We're either something, we're nothing, or we're something special. Entertainment is even making us not want to be human. How many people line up for superhero shows? Do you know? That means it's hilarious. It's like we have literally check this out. Our reality is to be human. Our imagination and our entertainment is non-human. That means the interesting thing that the moment we are human, we are fascinated by the non-human. The moment when you're truly non-human, you will be fascinated by the human. And then you'll see what I mean, that it's a round circle. Zen Master Dogen said, to follow the Buddha's way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to awaken to the nature of all things. That means to also awaken to the nature of why you forgot the self and why you studied the self. Here guys, I'll do something I've never done before. This part requires audience engagement, right? I want people to give me their metaphysical response of what they feel they are. Whatever. If you feel you're God right now, if you feel you're a non-dual being right now, if you feel you're an alien right now, if you feel you're some interdimensional being right now, if you feel whatever, if you feel you're nothing right now, please, whoever you are, write down what you feel you are metaphysically, right? And this is, I wanna prove a point. So if people can do this. Guys, this is so important. Trust me. Just if people can, I'm just writing it down. If people can do this properly, it'd be huge. I'll write here examples. An example. Guys, please, no poetic answers. Just give me just straight answers of what you think. It's for just for an exercise. It's just I want to just prove a point with it. It's like there's no big deal. Just no philosophical answers. Just what do you think you are as a being right now on a metaphysical or mystical level? You know, do you feel like, you know, like the yogis, you're God, everything is God? Do you feel you're nothing? Do you feel you're the imagination? Or like, what do you feel? If people can honestly just write, I mean, where else in the world does someone ask you a question like this, right? Okay, so I don't know if I should wait. Okay, 3 answers are good enough. Guys, a soul could be another example of an answer. Like being a light being could be whatever that is real to you, to your inner own. Okay, so let me tell you why I asked this, right? If people look at this, how many people's truths are human? Just notice how the truth has nothing to do with the human. So if the truth is not human, if the outcome of the truth is not for a human, the mind is not in the body. So the whole, what I'm trying to say is that it's as if like in our inner realms we can't not act human and then live as a human being in the outer realms. Now, it's like all of those have their place, but when it comes to the outer realms, the motives of the non-dual are like the easy way out. My point is that there's a type of spirituality that could be escapism. That means the metaphysician or the metaphysicist, the metaphysicist that I feel, we feel there's our suffering is because of us being human. Then we will realize our suffering had nothing to do with us being human. Then it would completely become okay being human, right? And then the whole metaphysical situation would have taken a round circle. So what this meant was, first the person or what was just a subject in moving an object. So like 4.5 years of evolutionary momentum is, became an object became a subject to itself. Pretty much, it's strange, you know. So starting from this subject moving an object, right? So this subject is like, okay, if there's something else there moving the object, then it's the instruction is not from the object. So at best, secular metaphysics could be that the brain is an antenna, which is what I'm saying here. Usually the context I entertain. I feel we cannot avoid the multidimensional. Just by the nature of technology evolving, the world is going to become more and more multidimensional. That means the era of the human being is close. We're getting symptoms of it. We are altering the human state. That's really what it means, change. So first question is, how are we defining what it means to be human in a changing world? Then the next thing is, once the person is a human being, how many of their behaviors are for the outcome of a human, right? This may be a strange thing, but let's call this the great human filter, right? In all branches of knowledge. Imagine this is like one of those kind of commands, Mr.Within is shouting at the society that can hear. Filter every dimension through a consideration of what is human. That means it was like when Shakespeare said to be or not to be, that could be an incredibly metaphysical statement as a suggestion to be human or to not to be human. Because it's a way where we're keeping ourself to ourself alive, really. to be human, to remain human, or not to remain human? That is the question. What it means is the language of human nature is under attack by phenomena created out of ignorant states of nature. Now, I don't want to get into too much about ignorance, because then it's going to become a pointing game. But really, I don't know, we just got to teach people that they were living in two worlds. The world inside the world is what you tell yourself. The real world is what is happening before you were a concept. I'm on like between the two giving these talks usually. Because it's incredible that once there is proper experience, trust is instant. Once a person knows something, it becomes instant. That means it's like once you know someone and you see their face in a crowd, it becomes instant. You know who they are. In the chat section, entangled in the quantum unknowing, I feel like a prisoner trapped on Earth. Here's the thing. Just like it's too easy to consider the world empty before full, it is too easy to consider the problem before the answer. There's some problems you gotta find a new answer to. There's some problems that the answer already exists, the problem just needs to be relocated to the answer. The soul cannot bleed. The soul cannot bleed. And the mind can't die. You know, it's as if like, I don't know what else we can really talk about as human beings. I mean, I gotta be honest here. Every day I wake up and I think about, alright, so where can human attention go? And it's unknown variables, right? Endless unknown variables. There's a certain range of known variables. And what are known variables? Just what we have accepted. So all of knowledge is just our relationship with matter through symbolism. Fear cannot exist for the spirit or for the idea of the person that is unknown. That means right now, let's say my body is known. I know my body. My mind, I know it based on my body. I don't know if there's an unknown component, let's say. The average man, let's say the common man thinks this way. And so the mind is semi-known, semi-unknown. So it's as if the body is 100% known, 100% conscious. The mind is 50% conscious, 50% unconscious. The soul, poetically, is 100% unconscious, 100% unknown. So body 100% known, soul 100% unknown. Now the mind is the middleman. The mind receives, it's, you know what it is, the mind, as if like it grabs, it receives the senses, then reports to the unknown soul. The unknown soul timelessly makes a decision, so it's as if the mind is never considered to have to, it's as if we think it's just the mind, you know. So the soul receives through the mind, through the body expresses through the mind, through the soul. Esmeralda says we can know our own soul. There is no own, there is no owner to truth. That has been the biggest tragic outcome of language trying to hold truth. It makes the character in the story feel the story is where the truth is in, never fathoming, wondering about if the story is just there because of the character. There's so many states of mind. We should have literally in our educational systems and universities, you know, a faculty just dedicated to communication. And in that faculty, they're being, in that department, they're being the study of all the ways that human beings can communicate. We can communicate with reality. Even, let's say, a person sees, I mean, of course, this world, there's so many kinds of brains that we can't ever judge, you know. But let's say there, I would say it's like from an analysis of how many human beings are more in their inner realms, how many beings are more in their outer realms. And even this whole thing that of Jordan Peterson saying of like the future generations of men on this planet being weaker in the sense of some sort of infantilization. It wasn't just Jordan Peterson, even Michel Foucault, I believe, had said some things about this. So the idea is, the reason of this is because there's more reasons to stay in your inner realms than to actually step out and go into your outer realms. Right? So technology is making our experiences to be much quicker in the inner realm, but not us present in the outer realms. Just the inner realm, outer realm analysis, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's like the being who's in their inner realm, they are caring for what they see first, then the potential sight of everything that's out there in the realm. Pretty much it's the story of ideas wearing crowns. Who knew? Game of Thrones has been happening on an ideological level since the beginning of time. Can you imagine, like, a time traveler accidentally going back in time? And going back to that exact moment where the first human being was looking for what word they should name the concept of time. And I'm saying this like humorously. Let's say there's a person named Tim, and Tim is about to say, you know, it's like, what is the time? Or let me I'm saying a time traveler goes back to the moment, to the first person who was about to create the word time, and accidentally the time traveler just comes out of the time machine and says, hey, what time is it? And the human being there is like, time? Time? Time! Time! Then the time traveler, imagine, is like, oh my god, I messed up. I didn't realize I went back to the exact moment where the guy hadn't made time, the word time yet, you know? So imagine the word time could have been anything else. But someone named Tim felt like, I'm gonna have a monopoly over this. There's an art to being human, I would even say. I would say it's an art form. That means it's like, for example, people who there's mind, they experience altered states of mind. Let's say a chemical, let's say one night you go drinking, right? You will totally realize to be human is an effort. You know, let's say if you were living in the forest for so long that you were like, you know, you had forgotten everything and you'd become nature, and then somebody was like, hey man, you know, what are you doing here? And then the person suddenly humanizes. That means that's the most important. Like, is the environment human? Even the biggest thing in relationships, I would say, on this planet, you know, there is cohabitation, and so what I mean by that is that human beings have to look at even human psychology. You know, there's a lot of, let's say, domestic violence that happens on the planet. What are you going to do? You know, behind doors, anything can happen. Right? So in these relationships of domestic violence, there has to be a sort of analysis conducted. Right? Some sort of observance is required. And that observance should be, is the behavior of the other caring for the human being? Right? So the biggest thing in like relationships, especially, I feel this is what the West really needs to focus on, is, are the two people aware that they're just two human beings in nature? Just in this world, they're two human beings. That means there's a level of life sensitivity and decency to being human that if that is forgotten by whatever idea, whether spiritual, non-spiritual, technological, you know, magic, aliens, whatever, right? It's like that decency to the human life sensitivity shouldn't go away. That means it's as if, like, right now everybody's seeing those people playing in the snow or doing whatever in the snow. You should have a smile like, oh, that's my species right there, you know. You know, that's like how, that's evolution right there, you know, how adorable, you know, human beings living on the surface of a rock, you know, in their own fiction, you know. So in non-fiction, we're living in our own fiction, you know. It's incredible, you know. It's as if, like, you know, that's one thing where a cosmic joke where our non-fiction is actually fiction, but we're treating it as if it's non-fiction, and we're saying, yeah, there's this separate genre that's called fiction. Yeah, not realizing everything was imagined at first. You see, everything is art. That's the thing. That means if an artist was rebelling against the educational system, would be like, excuse me, it's an ink drop on an empty page. No, it's like, that's evidence enough that everything is art. So, have maintained the human filter. I will declare this as the human law in metaphysics. That means in any person interested in spirituality, that don't go into the type of spirituality that is sacrificing your humanism for, like, I don't know, maybe some transcendentalism or transhumanism or whatever. Let the human being be the natural, your connection to just being a natural being, be like your shrine. That means I salute the atoms of my body before I sleep, like. just this acknowledgement. It's like, good work, you know, cellular level of existence, you know, you got me through, you know. So I would say, let's say somebody even, let's say, went the esoteric dimension, the mystical, mysticism and esotericism are completely different things. But I'll say it like, you know, let's say somebody cared for the theosophical angle. Once you realize truth was never a concept, it's an experience, an unconditional experience, an experience that wherever the being is, it is. That's how it's unconditional. You see, I would say there's people have different types of karma even. You know, for the shaman, for the shamanic position, I would say the karma was the insight into the behind the scenes of nature. That insight is literally a selfless mind looking at the embodied self, then realizing the embodied self is the shadow. It is the mind is what's causing the shadow, but what is the light that is causing the shadow? And that's the witness. So any human being on this planet finds an unconditional relationship of how they are being attention, energy, and the stories in between. Nature may find your voice. That means really the highest wisdom may take us to consciously realizing it is okay to live like the birds and the squirrels. It is okay completely to, regardless of whatever inner framework, I'm a multidimensional being, I'm a soul, I'm an extraterrestrial, I'm God, I'm nothing, I'm just this. It's like no longer filling this unknown void with stories and accepting the unknown for what it is. The hardest thing that a human being conditioned to endlessly know itself to do, to for a moment stop and feel the unknown. It's immense. It's an intensity. It's literally as if like a giant stepped into the room, you know. And that giant is not like, it's not a shape. It's that's just the immensity of the human circumstance. That means I was like, you can say like poetically, or I would say just humorously, the reason people are violent is because everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, are we on a rock in the middle of nowhere? You know. Anguish and despair can become boring, and then evolution occurs. There's the story just thinking which one to share, guys. I will tell you the story of a divine warrior, actually. A divine warrior who, after many battles, has a son, and he puts this emblem or marking on his son's arm to just recognize his son in the future, and this divine warrior goes back into battle. This divine warrior's name is Rostam. Long story short, Rostam, this undefeated warrior, often challenged by different foes because he's undefeated, undefeated in the sense that unless the authorization comes from above, the being cannot leave the outer realms. Doesn't matter what happens. So Rostam, this divine warrior, one day a challenger comes. And this challenger, they begin fighting, and he feels a fury, a rage in this challenger, you know. And this challenger is fighting with an like fierce, I don't know what I'd say, intensity that he has never seen anybody fight in the land like that. And because he has the ego, he's like, I am a divine warrior, you know, who can challenge me. And he fights. And suddenly he defeats this opponent, and there is a strange stare in the eye of this opponent, as if in the eye of the opponent there's a waiting, you know. So Rostam defeats this opponent. The moment he defeats the opponent, there's this, he gets this goosebump feeling, this intuitive strike, like lightning strike. He moves the side of he realizes, he like checks the arm of the person he defeated, and he realizes it was his son, like it was his actual son. And this is the story of Rostam and Sohrab as shared by Ferdowsi, this poet named Ferdowsi. The idea is that there was a divine blindness, that it was a dehumanized state of success. It was success, but it wasn't human success, you know. That's the most important thing, to keep it human. It's like, keep it human, folks, and carry on, you know. That would be an example. That story would be an example of not divine ignorance. The being was aware of the divine, but Rostam was aware of the divine. He was ignorant of the human. That's the moral of that story. We have to learn to honor our humanity. Yes, it has to be a source of an honor thing, and it doesn't have to be strict. You see, in our inner realms, this is why I feel I resolved the issue by saying, like, just think about it. Like, when it comes to the inner realms, okay, so no longer people say I am this, I am that. People say in the outer realms, first of all, we're all biological human beings. Okay, in the inner realms, everybody has a different way their attention has occurred. That means when most people talk about their beliefs and their truths, they're just sharing qualia. Qualia. Qualia, right? This is a term suggesting the content of the inner realms. That means people can very comfortably then be like, in my inner realms, yes, I have had moments where I fathomed I'm this, I'm that, whatever story you want to share, right? But you say it's the inner realm, so we can discriminate that there's a way we're existing to ourselves that is one level of truth, our personalized truth, and then there's a way the world exists beyond the way we can fathom, right? Right now, I may talk about humanity and try to fathom the whole species, but there's no way I can fathom the personalities of 8 billion people, you know? This is why there's no way to tell what's gonna happen. We're all like, you know what it is? It's as if we're all in this giant EDM concert, 8 billion people, and we're waiting for the DJ, but then we're realizing we are the DJs. We're waiting for our own show, you know? That means we're waiting for our human performance. It's like asking somebody, some power thirsty person, hey, why do you want power? It's like, I want power to control things. It's like, okay, why do you want to control things? I want to control things to feel like a god. It's like, why do you want to be a god? It's like, because that's the peak of human evolution. It's like, why do you want to be the peak of human evolution? Then the person suddenly reaches a point and you realize it's just like being nature. Not nature has to be something per se. If it has a potential, we can encourage it, but there is no force-feeding truth to people. There's no such thing, you know. It's like truth is often like an inner effort into the outer realms. It's an activation. That means, believe it or not, truth is something you gotta log into. You gotta activate somehow, you know. Can you imagine like a bunch of yogis on this? There's a mountain called Arunachala in India, like this, a mountain where, you know, sages and mystics and true yogis are still residing there, you know, so it should be treated as an undisturbed place. And so imagine a bunch of these yogis on this mountain, they meet, right? Literally, their presence is singular, so every being on a presence, like every being can know how another being is present. We cannot know the content, though, per se, of the inner realms. This doesn't mean like two people can have a conversation in a room and leave the room and somebody enters that room. I feel it's like that. It is still possible for that person to suddenly get the thoughts of that conversation, right? We don't treat thoughts like gas, right? Imagine we treated thought like two people, let's say, having an angry conversation. We treated it like a red cloud of gas, okay? Like red smoke or something. Right? And imagine a person walking into that room, literally like their head has gone into that red smoke, you know? So I'm saying it is this thing that energy is being imprinted or left in different parts of the space-time continuum. Benjamin says the demonization of consciousness carries many more of whatever we don't know. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, but the idea of the demon or the devil is duality. Okay? So duality means they are not separated. That means it's like there isn't truth there. I shouldn't say it's just duality. I'm just saying the lack of awareness that I would say any dualistic system is 1/4 of this universe, of what not, I shouldn't even say universe, of this cosmic event. Honestly, it's everything is artwork, and some artwork has become conscious of to redraw itself. I would say it's impossible to have just a dream in a changing world, right? Because a person needs to update their dream, if you think about it. Like, let's say a person's like, I wanna, you know, let's say a person who's never, let's say back in the day, a person's never been out of a village, you know? Or like, I don't know, Frodo from the Shire. He's like, I've never been out of the Shire. What is this? You know, what is this crap? You know, and Frodo goes out of the Shire, and so it's like, okay, let's not say Frodo. Let's say like a person in a village. They're like, it's like they have this dream of leaving the village and seeing what's beyond the village. They go and see beyond the village, and they're like, they see another bigger. Let's say they see something more complex. They see a city, you know. Then they say, what's beyond the city? Then they notice the nation. Then the person starts realizing there can always be bigger dreams. I mean, it's like the dreams never end, right? Any moment a person can have a dream. You know, a person can see like a basketball shoe and suddenly dream of being a basketball. Dream of being a basketball player. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the mind can take anything and reproject it in accordance to its emotional desire. Right? It's as if I feel like that's like how we wield the inner realms. A combination of emotion, a combination of attention, and a combination of desire, which tends to usually come from the stimulus. Imagine somebody, like if somebody says desire is all bad, it's as if like that moment where lava is coming from the volcano and people are running away, I think desire is not bad in that moment. It's like the person's like burning, lava's hitting their feet. My sensei said I shouldn't desire material things. We build a backup system of clarity in an ignorant system, and we live as if the problems of the past are not as important as the problems of the future. It's as if a person has a bunch of problems and they're like, what do I do with all these problems? So they're like, I gotta find the ultimate problem. I gotta find the top dog problem, right? And the ultimate problem is really I shouldn't say what is the motive, it's just contentment. Right? Because a person can have contentment with energy where before anything happens to the body, they are just the spacious watcher. I don't know what else to call it. There's the story of Buddha's disciple named Subhuti. This guy goes and sits under a tree, and he's attained some wisdom from Buddha, some realizations, and he comprehended something about reality. Excuse me, to continue. This guy's sitting under a tree, he's very peaceful. Suddenly he notices blossoms falling from this tree, you know, just endless blossoms falling from this tree, and he suddenly hears a voice in the sky, and it's like the voice of the gods and whatnot. And so the voice says, "Thank you for your discourse on emptiness." And Subhuti, the Buddha's disciple, suddenly hearing this voice and these blossoms falling all over him, he's like, I didn't give a discourse on emptiness. And then the voice from the sky says to Subhuti, we didn't hear a discourse on emptiness. You didn't share a discourse on emptiness. That is true emptiness. That is the true discourse on emptiness. You see, it's an emptiness that no longer needs to be empty. It's a fullness that no longer needs to be full. It's a moment where the wars between the potential energy and kinetic energy stop. And it's as if like raw being, and from that raw being arises the way you choose to step into the world. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. Let me see what else I can say before I end off. Let me see. To be human is divinity. To be human is divine. What does that mean? That means we shouldn't touch. That means it's like a museum of nature, right? We should be able to, as a body, experience the potential of the mind, and as a mind, actualize the potential, through the movement of the body. Really what it is it's like I'm saying, just people have to learn to pilot their attention, right? Then the wars of the inner realm stop. You walk into moments being like, yo, you say hi, you shake hands with emptiness first, then you shake hands with everyone else in the room. That way you lose nothing, because you have already been acquainted with the emptiness. There's the Zen story here. I'll show. In the Zen story, there's a student who comes to a Zen master, this disciple, and he says, "This master, Zen master." It's like, "Master Zen." The disciple comes to the Zen master and says, "My meditation's failing. I have too many thoughts. What do? I feel like I'm being bullied by thoughts that I can't control. My meditation sucks. Like, how can I help me?" And the Zen master looks at the disciple and just says, like Gandalf, how Gandalf was in Lord of the Rings 2, Lord of the Rings 1 to the Balrog, in the Balrog's house, like, "You shall not pass." And the Balrog's like, "What the fuck, man? Get out of here." But the Zen master looks at the disciple and says, "This will pass. This will pass." The student goes, months pass, and the student comes to the Zen master super happy, super cheerful, and he's like, "You were right. You're so wise. It passed. And now when I sit down to meditate, there's this incredible bliss. I feel heaven. I am heaven." And the Zen master looks at him and says, "This will pass." That means, buddy, wake up. It's a changing world. What do you want from this? Other than the opportunity to perform as energy, That means I realized I am untouchable when I realize nobody has my eyes. And when everybody on the planet realizes nobody has their eyes, you can't be judged anymore. You have discretion, you have caution. I'm just saying, it's like, when I say you can't be judged, not that you become a juggernaut of your own ideal. I mean that there is nothing wrong with being human and living as a human being. And this is the most important thing to keep in mind as the world becomes more and more a multidimensional place. I gotta share this. There was this yogi, right? And they asked the yogi, the student asked, and it's like, "What is the ego? Tell me, what is this ego when there's God here?" Right? Like, what am I? Am I emptiness? Am I everything? What is this? What is this ego? What do I do? And the yogi looks at him and says, everything. What is this? What is this? The yogi says the ego is the soul. Is God. The ego is God. And not that what the ego is, the causal mover, what is moving it is universal intelligence. What do we call it? It's like some people personified it as God, some people didn't personify it, some people said it wasn't there, some people said it was there, but we don't know what to do about it. And now I'm saying the only position in this language war we're left in is really to for now I call it unknownism. This philosophy is a bunker. It's a bunker for the time of multidimensionalism, right? Where many things can be seen from many views, right? That means the moment you can look down on someone, there's endless ways to look up at them, So many ways human beings are generating language, That shows us that language is not truth. Language is expression, though. Language is expression. So as expression, what's the best thing expression can be? Something that points. Like that saying where they say, when I point at the stars, don't look at my fingertip. Like, what are you doing? And so I feel that's the issue with religious fundamentalism. They are looking at the fingertip, they're not looking at the stars that the finger is pointing to. And it's not just with religion, it's just any ideological system that wants to clone the world to be itself. Right? We are saying we're living in a free world, right? There's freedom of speech, but you know how many ideological systems that are in the world that there isn't freedom of thought? There may be freedom of speech, but freedom to think is a totally different thing. A major part of it has to do with your environment. And then the other component to it has to do with your attention, right? A person can go hover in oneness as much as you want, but if humanity needs to advance, it needs to be done with human hands. Right? So the person can sit in utter bliss, be like, yo, man, I am truth, and there's nothing to worry about here. It's like complete dehumanized like bliss, It's like, yo, man, eternity can't die, it's all good, But then, as time passes on, the person gets this feeling, wait a minute, what's this event outside of my belief system taking place? Like, is it worthy of checking it out? Is it worthy to, for a moment, wonder, what if what we consider about ourselves is unknown? And what we consider about the world is unknown? That means we should first try to build a civilization where everybody can peacefully be unknown in. Then we build a civilization where we can know things in different ways. Right? It's our lack of contentment with the unknown. I'm telling you, this is the biggest training in life. It's as if every day we're training to fully enter the unknown at some point, right? We're like this elemental position. We're not elementally forever. So we're like a temporary being, every day waking up and every day training to notice the unknown. Notice the unknown. It's like, what is this, right? The repetition of it is enough of a clue that something is building. That means it's like consciousness has a momentum. Now to wonder about that momentum, to wonder about the velocity of your life, its speed, its direction, and that of the species even. It's like, how many people do you think on this planet care about the species? Most people are like, hey man, I'm just trying to get by to the next day, get out of here. What do you mean an advanced civilization? But if we had an advanced civilization, the person wouldn't have to behave that way, right? The person, you see, it's about efficiency and inefficiency, and the advanced communicators, I have fathomed it in the sense where in the future, there is no ego to it. It's just the advancement of communication because the moment passes on, right? So the advanced communicators are like winds in civilization, Realizing that if communication is abstract, and if we, right now, check it out, let's say, I say my real name is Amin, so I say I am Amin. So if I say that, it's as if I am also aware that I'm saying that, right? And that awareness can't be what was there before. That means I was being something before that statement. I was being something before I was named, just like we all were, right? So that level of being is now in our unconscious. And as the world becomes multidimensional, we're going to have even maybe complex ways of looking at the unknown, right? The unknown, because we see it as an inanimate, lifeless, just materialistic sense of a universe, right? Just an elemental level of a universe. It's very hard to fathom about the animate intelligence of mystery in the unobservable universe. So we are kind of left with like our own stories until we use our stories to build something, right? So there is transhumanism and there is to transcend humanism. My view is, whatever people say, civilization is still an event that's happening. The only thing it's lacking is that it's not win-win between the selves in the world and the worlds that these senses of self see. In the story of the Tower of Babylon, all human beings were united under one language. All humanity was united under one language. And using that one language, everybody was speaking the same, seeing the same. You know, that's really the advantage, the potential, like the proper use of language, where it allows us to, it's like an inventive resource. So all human beings united under one language built this epic tower reaching to the clouds, you know. And you know, Apollo is about to kind of throw a mini sun at the tower, and you know, so another god's like, yo, chill, Apollo, what's wrong? And calm down. And the god says, check this out. And the god makes human beings speak different languages, you know. When human beings can't speak the same language, they can't continue building the Tower of Babylon. They can't attain the higher dimensions. That means squares failed to become cubes. You know? Being is now in our unconscious. He was speaking the same, seeing the same. You know, that's really the advantage, the potential. I don't know what to say, guys. honestly, we gotta somehow use our humanity as a common language, advance civilization as much as we can, and at the same time have fun while doing it, because why not? That's how an advanced being would do it. An advanced civilization means every part of it would be advanced, right? That means the self is getting an advanced experience of the civilization, and the civilization is experiencing that individual in an advanced way. And we can, if this can be done, you know, and you see, this is what I feel. Let's say, let's say there was a planet and everybody was, let's say we got rid of all poverty on the planet, right? Then what would the next thing be? It would be getting rid of the poverty of the mind, right? And then once we get rid of the poverty of the mind, it would be getting rid of the poverty of activity. You know, that means it's like self-actualization and whatnot. That means we want to build a civilization where human beings actually shouldn't be their whole day working for dreams that do not relate to them. And I'm not saying we shouldn't as if it's wrong. I'm just saying it's like, if you were to think of a more advanced version, physiological survival was very easy. That means imagine all of that was taken care of. The person didn't have to wake up and think about physiological survival, right? That was all somehow maintained. Then how much time throughout the day would the person have to wonder about the let's say 3D dimensions of the square view? Shall we walk with the cubes or cry with the squares? And somebody listening to this is going to be like, Mr. Within, you're taking geometry too far, man. It's like, this is, you know. You know what I've noticed is, to the past, everything is unacceptable. To the future, everything is acceptable, because who knows? Who knows? I feel like going into a quote tunnel of Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj. This man his words are like hidden tunnels in Mount Everest, like that. They're that deep. Okay. Alright, I think this website is workable. By the way, a quote tunnel is, for those people who are new, is pretty much me reading a bunch of quotes. But when I say tunnel, we're kind of like, I'm telling the audience to keep in mind that actually, before I play the song, for the audience to keep in mind, it's like we're just the Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj is just a human being in history. He's just one human being. And the aim of me sharing these quotes one after another is to give a sense of how this person's eyes opened up to the world. You see, if you brand yourself as a philosopher, you will not attain view. You see, it's not about the identity. You know, it's about just, I don't know how to say it. It's like there's no greater teacher than wonder. So anything that is where the spirit of wonder is active, you know. Anyways, I don't know how to say it. Pretty much Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj, let's see how his inner realms is, right? Because for me, it's like all of knowledge arises from human beings. So if we look at how human beings looked at the world, we'll understand more about the concept, and the concept alone based on its just anyway interpretable design. So anyways, Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, play the song. No, I'm joking. What did he say? Okay. Maybe this is workable. The song, okay, let's go with it. There's lyrics in this song, but bear with me, guys. It is always the false that makes you suffer. The false desires and fears, the false values and ideas, the false relationships between people. Abandon the false and you are free of pain. Truth makes happy, truth liberates. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, wisdom is knowing I am nothing, love is knowing I am everything, and between the two, my life moves. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says you will receive everything you need when you stop asking for what you do not need. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says once you realize that the road is the goal and that you're always on the road, not to reach a goal but to enjoy its beauty and its wisdom, life ceases to be a task and becomes natural and simple, in itself an ecstasy. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says love says I am everything, wisdom says I am nothing. Between the two, my life moves. It's another version. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says your expectation of something unique and dramatic, of some wonderful explosion, is merely hindering and delaying your self-realization. You're not to expect an explosion, for the explosion has already happened at the moment when you were born, when you realized yourself as being dash knowing dash feeling. There's only one mistake you're making. You take the inner for the outer and the outer for the inner. What is in you, you take to be outside you, and what is outside you take to be in you. The mind and feelings are external, but you take them to be intimate. You believe the world to be objective while it is entirely a projection of your psyche. That is the basic confusion, and no new explosion will set it right. You have to think yourself out of it. There is no other way. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says a quiet mind is all you need. All else will happen rightly once your mind is quiet, and the sun on rising makes the world active, so does self-awareness affect changes in the mind. In the light of calm and steady self-awareness, inner energies wake up and work miracles without any effort on your part. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says all you want is to be happy. All your desires, whatever they may be, are longing for happiness. Basically, you wish yourself well. Desire by itself is not wrong. It is life itself, the urge to grow in knowledge and experience. It is choices you make that are wrong. To imagine that some little thing dash food, sex, power, fame dash will make you happy is to deceive oneself. Only something as vast and deep as your real self can make you truly and lastingly happy. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, don't try to understand. It's enough if you do not misunderstand. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says the consciousness in you and the consciousness in me, apparently two, really one, seek unity, and that is love. You know, it's pretty much like soul fusion. Sorry guys, that song was too intense. Like, hypothetically, my blood pressure was rising, you know, in my inner. Okay, where's the quote page? Okay. Questioner, you seem to advise me, this is again the quote tunnel. Questioner, you seem to advise me to be self-centered to the point of egoism. Must I not yield even to my interest in other people? Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj responds, your interest in others is egoistic, self-concerned, self-oriented. You're not interested in others as persons, but only as far as they enrich or ennoble your own image of yourself. And the ultimate in selfishness is to care only for the protection, preservation, and multiplication of one's own body. By body, I mean all that is related to your name and shape, your family, tribe, country, race, etc. To be attached to one's name and shape is selfishness. A man who knows that he's neither body nor mind cannot be selfish, for he has nothing to be selfish for. Or you may say he's equally selfish on behalf of everybody he meets. Everybody's welfare is his own. The feeling I am the world is myself becomes quite natural. Once it is established, there is just no way of being selfish. To be selfish means to covet, to acquire, to accumulate on behalf of the part against the whole. Pretty much, Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj is saying it's heavy work. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, love is not selective, desire is selective. In love there are no strangers. When the center of selfishness is no longer, all desires for pleasure and fear of pain cease. One is no longer interested in being happy. Beyond happiness, there is pure intensity, inexhaustible energy, the ecstasy of giving from a perennial source. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the mind creates the abyss, the heart crosses it. Oh my God. It's like the story of my universe. Imagine they asked the person, are you enlightened? The guy's like, I'm pretty sure we're all in the light right now. Without the light, there would be no concept of enlightenment. Come on. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, nothing ever goes wrong. Tidak ada satu pun yang berjalan keliru. And I tried. That's also written there, guys. I tried. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, all you need is already within you. Only you must approach yourself with reverence and love. Self-condemnation and self-distrust are grievous errors. Your constant flight from pain and search for pleasure is a sign of love you bear for yourself. All I plead with you is this: make love of yourself perfect. Deny yourself nothing. Glue yourself infinity. What? Glue yourself infinity and eternity and discover that. Glue yourself in. I think it's glue yourself infinitely and eternally, and it's not written that way. It says, okay, whatever. I'll honor the typo. Glue yourself infinity and eternity and discover that you do not need them, you are beyond. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says absolute perfection is here and now, not in some future, near or far. The secret is in action here and now. It is your behavior that binds you to yourself. Disregard whatever you think of yourself to be and act as if you were absolutely perfect. Whatever your idea of perfection may be, all you need is courage. This is another way in Zen they would say, if you want to climb a mountain, start at the top. That means the person can wake up in the day and be like, oh my God, I'm too weak to get out of bed. Or the person could be like, I've already lived like this day. How many days have I lived? It's like, this is every living a day. I've lived so many days on this planet. It's like it's easy, you know? It's like, a breath away. So really, that's it. We have to care for ourselves, This is what I'm saying when a person asks himself, what do I deserve? Do you deserve the tears? That means, do the tears on your face belong to you? And if you think you are an idea, the answer would be yes. If you're not an idea, the answer cannot be yes. That means it's as if they ask the person, what are you? And the person's like, I'm a thought, man. I'm pretty sure I'm a thought right now, And the person's like, okay, you're a thought, can you show me this thought? And the person's like, no, I can't show you. And that's the dilemma. We can't show thoughts. Like, when I mean it, that means like the way we're being a subject to ourselves, we can't touch it. We can perceive it, we can observe it, but we can't touch it. In the same way a person can visualize, I don't know, a slice of pizza in the air, and they go to grab it and it's like, inner realms are like, gotcha. I'll continue with the quote now. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, whatever happens to you by you, through you. You are the creator, enjoyer, and destroyer of all you perceive. And people feel they can't, achieve their dreams. This man is literally like sharing what needs to be heard, I feel. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says you may die 100 deaths without a break in the mental turmoil, or you may keep your body and die only in the mind. The death of the mind is the birth of wisdom. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, as you watch your mind, you discover yourself as the watcher. When you stand motionless, only watching, you discover yourself as the light behind the watcher. The source of light is dark. Unknown is the source of knowledge. The source alone is. Go back to that source and abide there. I am that is the name of his book. You know, I thought it was the continuation of the quote, but it's the name of his book. You know. So that's the thing, guys. This quote is it. This quote is pretty much, you know, the aim of this podcast, you know. We gotta build temples in cyberspace, you know. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says to deal with things, knowledge of things is needed. To deal with people, you need insight, sympathy. To deal with yourself, you need nothing. Be what you are, conscious being. And don't stray away from yourself. That means, guys, it's so instantaneous, you know. It's kind of like a riddle. It's as if, like, what is it that's already being before I do? And the answer is whatever truth you consider. Excuse me, guys, to continue. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, there's no such thing as a person. Oh my God. There's no such thing as a person. There are only restrictions and limitations. The sum total of these defines the person. You think you know yourself when you know what you are, but you never know who you are. The person merely appears to be, like the space within the pot appears to have the shape and volume and smell of the pot. See that you are not what you believe yourself to be. Fight with all the strength at your disposal against the idea that you are nameable and describable. You are not. Refuse to think of yourself in terms of this or that. There is no other way out of misery, which you have created for yourself through blind acceptance without investigation. Suffering is a call for inquiry. All pain needs investigation. Don't be lazy to think. So in the chat section, somebody was having a problem. That's your strategy. You know, the strategy is to wonder about your suffering. To inquire. The suffering, it's like, oh, is that suffering? I see. Okay, time to see who I am. You know, that's like, you know, the call of interaction and suffering, maybe. A sort of call. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says it has nothing to do with effort. Just turn away. Look between the thoughts rather than at the thoughts. When you happen to walk in a crowd, you do not fight every man you meet. You just find your way between. When you fight, you invite a fight. When you do not resist, you meet no resistance. When you refuse to play the game, you're out of it. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says truth is not a reward for good behavior, nor a prize for passing some tests. It cannot be brought about. It is the primary, the unborn, the ancient source of all that is. You are eligible because you are. You need not merit truth. It is your own. Stand still. Be quiet. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says there are always moments when one feels empty and estranged. Such moments are most desirable, for it means the soul has cast its moorings and is sailing for distant places. This is detachment. This is detachment, when the old is over and the new has not yet come. If you are afraid, the state may be distressing, But there is really nothing to be afraid of. Remember the instruction, whatever you come across, go beyond. That means, on a side note, dear listeners, whatever talk of mine you come across, go beyond. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj says, steady faith is stronger than destiny. Destiny is the result of causes, mostly accidental, and it is therefore loosely woven. Confidence and good hope will overcome it easily. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj is literally saying, like, somebody's like saying him, how do I overcome destiny? And what Sri Sagadhat Maharaj is, just be confident, man. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj says, you have put so much energy into building a prison for yourself. Now spend as much on demolishing it. In fact, demolition is easy, for the false dissolves when it is discovered. By demolition, he means like when you look at something for what it is, not what you are or what you want it to be, you see its true nature, right? So call it demolition, dissolution into discovery, whatever. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj says, if you want to know your true nature, you must have yourself in mind all the time until the secret of your being stands revealed. Brilliant. This is it. There's so many gems in this quote, guys. It's ridiculous. Now, guys, one thing to say is really where we can go from this Sri Sagadhat Maharaj quote is that when the secret of your being stands revealed, the unconditional being will have no fear of being a human being and living in a human collective, you know? So I would say it's as if after you notice the secrets of your being, then you share it, kind of like the first human being who found berries and brought it to the tribe, and the tribe was like, no way, berries were here this whole time, you know? Right? So it's the same way where we got to become hunter-gathering societies of our inner realms. People have to start become fascinated of how each human being's eyes is working, right? And what is the inventive collective effort behind all of this, you know, reinventive. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj says, all you need is already within you. This is again a repetition. Hold on, let me see. One last quote. Sri Sagadhat Maharaj says, freedom means letting go. People just do not care to let go of everything. They do not know that the finite is the price of the infinite, as death is the price of immortality. Spiritual maturity lies in the readiness to let go of everything. The giving up is the first step, but the real giving up is in realizing that there's nothing to give up, for nothing is your own. That means if the idea of the human being is a conditional projection of identity, the moment we go beyond those conditions, sensory conditions, right, then it's as if there is no subjective owner of what is happening as a one objective universal event. right? So Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj is kind of giving pointers here to the advanced communicators and the pilots of the future generations, that really the maturity is on. And why do you have a readiness to let go of everything? This doesn't mean forget everything in your life and become irresponsible. This means in the inner realms, you realize it's not about the inner event. That means you step out of the rabbit hole of the conditioning of self-obsession, which many people are raised in, right? So once you have found the true nature of self, then life is not about self, because there's an inseparability at work. This is what I always shocks me, right? That people have a non-dualistic view. What non-dualistic means, the self and the world are inseparable, right? So that would mean more reason to be an individual human being in the world, because you're not separate. There's nothing to fear, first, of being individual, and at the same time, to be individual is to care for it, right? As if the universe is like, hey, human beings, I'm dancing with you as the spirit of nature, but you guys are not dancing with me back. What is this? You know, and like the planet's dancing alone, you know, and we're all like, we don't hear the music. And guys, of course, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, he's a mystic. He says, when the world does not hold and bind you, it becomes an abode of joy and beauty. You can be happy in the world only when you are free of it. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, you are concerned with your own happiness. And I am telling you that there's no such thing. Happiness is never your own. It is where the I, in quotations, is not. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, do what you believe in and believe in what you do. All else is a waste of energy and time. And Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, do not be afraid of freedom from desire and fear. It enables you to live a life so different from all you know, so much more intense and interesting, that truly, by losing all, you gain all. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the innermost light, shining peacefully and timelessly in the heart, is the real guru. All others merely show the way. Yeah, everything is a mirror, you know. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when the shadow is seen to be only a shadow, you stop following it. You turn around and discover the sun which was there and there all the time, behind your back. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, when there is total surrender, complete relinquishment of all concern with one's past, present, and future, with one's physical and spiritual security and standing, a new life dawns, full of love and beauty. Then the guru is not important, for the disciple has broken the shell of self-defense. Complete self-surrender is liberation by itself. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, it is only when you're satisfied with the changeable and long for the unchangeable that you're ready for turning around and stepping into what can be described in brackets, when seen from the level of the mind, as emptiness and darkness. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the door that locks you in is also the door that lets you out. The I am, in quotations, is the door. Stay at it until it opens. It is only when you cannot come and go freely that the house becomes a jail. I move in and out of consciousness easily and naturally, and therefore to me the world is a home, not a prison. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj, oh my god guys, I'm going to end off with this quote and the tunnel with this. This is one of the most intense quotes I think ever written. He says, "You cannot be alive, for you are life itself." Anyways guys, closing remarks. It's okay to be human. It's okay to care for the human idea. And it is also okay because we have freedom of speech. That means we have freedom of thought, because we feel in this modern time, the way societies, people feel they're their thoughts. That means technically everybody has the freedom to feel they're anything. So that means that it's like we got to care for the human being. And I thought of this idea where we start an alphabet, right? We start this massive, imagined, globally efficient network of human beings trying to wonder about human nature in all its displays. No longer good or bad. Now we're actually getting to work and trying to see the different ways that human behavior has emerged, you know? And so we care even for the inner realms as much as the outer realms, right? That means that ship, even in the picture, this picture, I believe it's from Russia, somewhere in Russia, that boat over there, that boat was once just a thought in a person's head. Then that boat was brought onto paper. Then the resources for it came. The resources were put together, and then the boat became a part of nature again, right? So the a resolution to humanity's karma, like what's the species going to do with its karma, is that the species thinks of the win-win. The species wants to win. The species is the individual's behaviors. Right? So if we can create a win-win system somehow in any situation where it's like the environment is not only victorious but those in it too. To be human it's just the other side of divinity. You know, it's a privilege to be human. You know, that's how much we should honor. Anyways guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. Namaste. And I'll be on Discord for those interested.